Welcome, everyone. We're back with another great podcast guest today. We've got Simon Hartley from Be World Class for the TBH Mastermind. So, Simon, tell us about your business.
Thank you very much. So, Be World Class, very simply, is my attempt to help other people adopt the principles that enable world class performers to be great. So, over the years, I've studied and worked with a lot of people in a huge variety of fields who are all genuinely in the top handful in the world at what they do. And I've always been interested to know what makes them great, what differentiates them. How do they think? How do they take on challenges? How do they overcome setbacks? How do they negotiate risk? All those sorts of questions. And I've noticed, of course, that there are common themes and common characteristics that they all possess. So my little mission, I guess, is to help distill those down, but then help other people adopt them.
Fast, you must meet some interesting people then.
I really do. Yes, it is definitely one of the perks of my job. Yeah.
And how did you get into doing that?
So my background is sports psychology, and I mean I left university, worked in the field of elite sport pretty much straight away, and I was always curious to know why did some athletes make it and others didn't. Particularly when I started to realise that talent was not the differentiator.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started to get under the skin of how certain athletes could perform at their best consistently, whereas others had fantastic days followed by atrocious days. And how some who weren't the most talented ended up becoming the European champion, the world champion, the Olympian, whereas the classically more talented athlete would probably just sort of slip out of the sport and never really achieve their potential or fulfill their potential.
Wow, that's interesting. So, your business is working with who? Who do you work with?
I work with a wide range of people. Still do work in elite sport. So over the last few years, I think we are now 8 seasons into the work with FC Bayern Munich. I worked for a few years with the Fiji Rugby Sevens team through a World Cup winning cycle and into the Olympics, the Paris Olympics. Did a little bit of work just over a year ago with England Rugby League as they work their way into a test series against Samoa. They're about to engage in another test series against Australia. I do still work in elite sport. I've worked with one-to-one clients as well, professional athletes, international athletes. But the bigger part of my work now is some global corporations like Adidas, for example, some entrepreneurs, some executives, even in education and sort of other fields of endeavour. But that's what genuinely keeps me busy.
So, athletes, entrepreneurs, global corporations. What do you see that's a common thread amongst them?
Human beings. that's and that's where I get really interested.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's human beings trying to perform, I'll call it on their own. It's never truly on their own, is it? I mean,
No.
we always work with other people, but whether it's individual performance or team performance or organizational performance or working with leaders to enable teams to perform better, whatever level it's on, it's always the base component is human beings. So my work, whether it's with a global corporation or an individual athlete, is really all about mindset, leadership, and teamwork.
I was going to say that it can't, obviously in a global situation, it can't be about physicality, can it?
No, I mean, keeping yourself healthy usually is a base component of good performance, but no, it's really not about who can run fastest, jump highest, or lift weights. It's about what goes on between our ears.
And so I'm not going to ask you to name names unless you want to. So, where have you seen a significant transformation from with you working with them, as in sport, global organisations, entrepreneurs? What have you seen as the biggest sort of transformations you've seen in people?
Yeah, the shifts in mindset can take us a long way. Sometimes it's about turnaround, somebody who's in a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
bad spot who ends up coming out of that. But if they carry on that journey, even if we start with a turnaround project, if they carry on that journey and look at sort of focusing on their trajectory and their progress, it's sometimes unbelievable where we can finish. One of the athletes that I work with, who's very happy for me to sort of tell the story,
Mm-hmm.
he and I worked together for about 7 years. We started in 2001. His last competitive race, he was a swimmer. His last competitive race was the Beijing Olympic final in
Wow.
2008.
Wow.
And over that period, he went from not even being in the top four in the city of Newcastle to being a double Olympian, an Olympic finalist, double Commonwealth gold medalist, and seventh fastest in history in his event. And that kind of turnaround, it looks dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was, because that's a huge shift, but it did happen over the period of about 7 years. So that's somebody who really invested into the trajectory, not just that they wanted to get out of a spot, but they understood that the key to unlocking their performance was only partly physical and only partly skills based. A lot of that was also mental.
It's interesting what you say. Like, so I work with businesses smaller, and I tend to work with £1 to £10 million businesses. And I know it's two things. I call it a picnic problem sometimes. Problem in chair, not in company.
Hmm.
They think they think the problem's in the company, and I'm stood looking at the problem. And the way I overcome that, all I ask them to do, I ask them for 55 minutes a day. That's all I want them, and pure focus and starvey distractions. And let's work on the business of the business. And you're absolutely right. It's if you add up all those 55 minutes, 5 days a week, you're 180 hours of focus on your business. And and sometimes they go, I can't believe how far we've come. And I look back and think, well, how did we do it? But it was
Mm.
literally 55-minute sections.
Yeah. And the truth, when I sort of explain how this particular swimmer became world
Mhm,
class in his field, the truth was he didn't get all of a sudden taller
mhm,
or all of a sudden developed webbed hands and webbed feet.
mhm,
None of those things happened.
mhm,
But he did become more effective with every single moment of his time.
mhm.
Every single training session became more focused. He squeezed more out of his training sessions than his competitors did. And that was critical. That shift really did make a difference.
Absolutely amazing. What a great success story that is.
Yeah, and whilst people can kind of see how that works for a swimmer in a swimming pool,
Mhm,
um, now a lot of people have started to translate that mindset into their own world, and they
mhm,
start to realise that it wasn't a swimming thing. It never was. It was a focus thing.
mhm,
And therefore, if they can use the same sort of principles to guide their own focus, they could also become incredibly effective with their time. And then they don't need to find more hours in the day. They just need to use the hours they've got better and more effectively. And then they'll get further in the same given time.
You're absolutely right. I was finished with a bakery last Christmas, and Christmas was carnage for them. Absolute carnage. Starting in January, we ran all the way up to Christmas. We put 40% more orders through in the Christmas month, and they actually said we're quiet this year, and it wasn't one thing. It was 1,000 tiny things that we did different, even from preparing at this time of year. So you're absolutely right. It's not here you go, do that.
Mm.
It's not that. So it's amazing that it trans crosses into business as well. So where does your future of your business going? What's your plans for the future?
Uh, the plans are always to, and the whole business has been sort of built on me following my curiosity. And so the plan for the business is to keep following my curiosity,
Hmm.
and doing that often takes me into new areas. We kicked off last year. We have a sort of sidearm to our business, which is a media business. Um, and we kicked off. We've done podcasts and bits and pieces in the past, and we have made a few documentaries. But we kicked off a docu series, the pilot of a docu series last year called "This Is Mental," and it follows people who are taking on their biggest, hairiest, scariest goals. And the mission, very simply, is to embark on these big, hairy, scary goals and achieve them within 90 days.
Wow.
So we will transition from a pilot, which we did last year, into a full-blown six-part docu-series in the coming year. I've got another book on the go. So there are 13 in the can so far. This next one, the working title, believe it or not, is Follow Your Curiosity.
Wow.
And it's all about not just the importance of curiosity, but how we cultivate curiosity.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people would see it as a characteristic or a trait, which is true, but it's one that can be developed and nurtured and cultivated.
Mhm.
So how we can deliberately do that, not just in ourselves, but also in the people around us if we're leaders. Um, so that's on the horizon for this coming year. Um,
Just another
I'm
quiet year then.
yeah, and in amongst all of that, there's the professional speaking, the working in elite sport, all of those sorts of things. But I tend to find that I'm also sort of trying to progress new projects, and from my point of view, they're sort of the pioneering ones because it's stuff I've never done before,
Mhm.
and I'm a big fan of continually pushing my own boundaries, testing myself, challenging myself, and some of it's professional, but some of it's outside of professional life. I've been learning to fly a plane for the last couple of years,
Wow.
so on the personal front, I've got a few hours left to do to get my pilot's license,
Mhm.
and then it'll be sort of off and adventuring in the skies. Yeah, watch out
Where
if
do you
you
fly
happen to
out
be
from?
from Teesside Airport. So if you're in the vicinity of Teesside, you look up and there's a little aeroplane. Probably hide, I would imagine, would be the best advice. Yeah, there must be bunkers and things like that that people can occupy. Um, so yeah, that's also part of where I'm going over the next 12 months.
You're a busy guy, so that sounds absolutely amazing. Talk to me about um, where's the biggest challenges in your business faced? What challenge have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
Well, I tend to find the challenges because if I'm always pushing the boundaries, nothing's easy. um, each new book project, we've just completed a conference. We delivered our seventh conference a couple of weeks ago. They're always challenging.
Hmm.
A conference event of 100 and odd delegates and six speakers and all that sort of stuff is a bit of a monster, honestly. Um,
Where was
so
that held? Where was that held?
we held that one at Lord's Cricket Ground. That's the third one that we've done at Lord's Cricket
Hmm.
Ground, and the seventh that we've done in total.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, those sorts of things are always testing and challenging. Even though I've written a bunch of books so far, each new book project is challenging in its own right. Because one of the things that I've noticed about the world is you could take on essentially the same challenge, but because the world's different, the challenge comes in a different form, and it demands different things of you.
Hmm.
So the world of publishing is not the same as it was when I first published
Oh,
my
absolutely.
first book back in whenever that was 2010, and getting a book deal isn't the same as it was back then. So the challenge of writing and publishing changes every time you create a new book.
And obviously, we talk about publishing, and AI is all over publishing. Is AI in your world?
It is, yes. I've only really got a handle on it in the past 6 months.
Hmm.
How I could best use it and how it might be able to best support me. And I resisted it for a long time, which sounds daft when I kind of actively engage in challenges, but I sort of wondered whether AI would compromise the humanness. I mean, ours is essentially a very, very human business. It has to be.
Hmm.
And I wondered whether it might compromise the humanness of the business. So I'd resisted for a long time, and I had to get enough evidence, personal evidence, that this wasn't going to compromise. It would enhance the humanness of the business. And and I think that probably coincided with allowing AI to evolve to the point where it could. Because when I saw early iterations of some of the AI tools, ChatGPT and the like, I didn't see them enhancing the
Hmm.
humanness. I saw them as a sort of a poor relation, um, and and it wasn't something I wanted to go and embrace at the time. As I saw it advancing, I thought, well, maybe this is at a point now where I really can start to use it.
Hmm.
And now it does some of the sort of heavy lifting tasks. But interestingly, when I started to learn about AI, I worked with an absolute genius called Colette Mason, who's written a book about sort of ditching the work and being able to it sort of embrace AI as part of the teamwork. She
Mm-hmm.
would describe it as,
Yeah.
and she talked about sort of teaching the AI tools how to do the job that you really want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as I engaged in that process, it struck me that this isn't anything to do with computers. This is leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just leading the AI
Mm-hmm.
agent or assistant, as she would say, your
Mm-hmm.
sort of AI co-founder. She describes it as you're leading your AI co-founder the same way that you'd lead a person.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're not really good with instructions, and if you don't give it good feedback, it won't be able to do the job for you. If you don't onboard it properly, if you don't set expectations, it won't be able to do the job for you.
It's a great
Um,
way to put it.
and it was at that point that I thought, because I'm a bit of a techno dunce, if I'm honest. I was starting to think, yeah, maybe AI and me aren't compatible because it's quite technological, and I'm a techno dunce. But when I realised that actually this was all about leadership, it was about coaching and mentoring this AI co-founder, then I started to really understand how we could work together.
Mhm. You're absolutely right. And, I see AI everywhere, and I say HI and AI, human intelligence and artificial intelligence. It really will make a difference. And I use AI to argue myself because personally, I love a good debate, and I'm really strong at it. 'Cause when you do something so much, you actually get really good at arguing. You can just see where people. It's like chess. You
Yeah.
see what and I must admit, it challenges me. Does it? If I'm asking the questions, it really does. I found it, but it's that human part of it. It's you aren't about setting it up to onboarding it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like a calculator, and calculators are really good at calculating, and
Mm.
that's what it is. So I'm just going to take a break from the questioning now. I'm going to ask you some a little bit simpler questions. So, um, sunshine or ski holidays?
Ski.
You got a favourite resort?
Yes, it's in Norway. It's called Trysil. Um,
Oh,
and one of the nice things about Trysil is rather than being sort of high up in the mountains,
mhm.
it doesn't work on altitude like it would in the Alps. It
Yeah,
works on latitude
right.
and being further north, nearer the Arctic Circle.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so actually, it's not high, so you get to ski down through the trees,
Hmm.
which is something I absolutely adore. Being in and amongst the trees, skiing forest trails and things like that, but still having, they're steep, but at the same time, they're not high. So yeah, I absolutely adore it. And we go back time after time to the same resorts. And there's another one in Sweden called Aura, which is spelled ARE, but it's A with a little accent above it.
Hmm.
And that's another beautiful, beautiful resort.
Wow.
So yeah, they're my favourite ski places. And even in the summer, when we head anywhere, we tend to head north, not south.
Yeah.
So it's more about midge repellent than factor 50.
Yeah. Welcome to Scotland as well. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee. First thing in the morning?
Yeah, but I only have one a day, and it's got to be a really nice coffee. I'm a proper coffee snob.
Yeah.
If I have two, I start getting heart flutters and jitters. But one really nice coffee a day is my little luxury for the day.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Have you got any dogs?
I have two, yes, a cockapoo and a cavapoo,
Oh.
and they are the cavapoo's only 9 months old, so he's transitioning from a complete pain in the backside to actually quite a nice dog.
Hmm.
But it's taken him 9 months to get this far. The other one mellowed at about the age of 3 and is an absolute dream. He's wonderful. He's 8 years old now.
Wow. Gig or theatre?
Gig.
Hmm. Which bands do you follow?
So I love live music. I really missed it during COVID. It
Hmm.
was one of those things I didn't realize how much I liked it until it was taken away. But I've been to some amazing gigs. Probably the best one. I went to see Pearl Jam in Rome at the Stadio Olimpico, and it was an incredible gig. But the band that I've seen most is probably Dave Matthews Band, who are more well known in the US, but are becoming a little bit more known in the UK. We were going to go to a gig in Sheffield last night. We had to change plans. An Icelandic band called Of Monsters and Men.
Never heard of them.
Um, so yeah, it's quite a wide genre, from sort of Iron Maiden at one end, who I saw a few years ago and were absolutely brilliant, down to the Icelandic band Of Monsters and Men, a sort of folk rock. So it's quite a wide span, to be honest.
Mm. Isn't is it Dickinson? Isn't from our into your pilot as well? I believe.
Yeah, yes, and I believe owned a 747. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
not one of the little single engine propeller things that I fly, four seater. No, he had a 747.
once rented a villa for the family in Portugal, and a beautiful villa. It was a stunning villa. We got there. It's a bit odd. There's Iron Maiden stuff on the wall, and then the housekeeper told us whose house it was, and it was his house that he'd rented out.
Ah, brilliant.
It's stunning. Told the kids all excited. They went, "Who?"
Who? Yeah, trust the kids.
Yeah. Gigs. Now we're fortunate. So as you know, I'm down in West Yorkshire. If you ever get a chance to come to the Peace Hall in Halifax,
Mm.
it is the most spectacular, relatively small venue, and it's perfect for a great intimate venues. If you ever get a chance to go to the Peace Hall, they usually have a few decent bands on through the summer. Certainly make the trip down here. It's well worth the trip.
I
It's,
have seen a lot of really good bands
mm,
gigging at the Peace Hall. It's the same with the Scarborough Open Air Theatre. I don't know if
yes,
you've ever been there.
yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
great place to
Yeah,
go and watch a band as well.
yeah, yeah. So final. We'll talk about a takeaway. Are we curry or fish and chips?
Fish and chips.
Well, traditional man.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Some great answers there. So thank you for that. Just have a little break. So one of the things I love to ask my guests, and you've been a brilliant guest, so thank you. Keep going. So you've had this wide experience. You've met all kinds of people that you've not even mentioned today, and some interesting, some real, some you've transformed. If you could, like, give us one, two, or three bits of wisdom that we could take forward in life or in business, what would you share with us, Sam?
Um, I closed out our conference a couple of weeks ago, and we had some incredible speakers. The whole conference was dedicated to the question, how do we achieve the impossible?
What was the conference called? Give us a bit of a plug on the conference.
So it was called the World Class Performance Conference
Mm-hmm.
2025. And we had a guy called Adam who'd swum all of the 7 ocean swims on the planet. Um, Anne, who's a polar expedition leader, first woman to ever go to the North and South Poles.
Mm-hmm.
Martine, who survived the 7/7 bombings but lost both her legs,
Mm-hmm.
but then went on to captain Team GB volleyball at the Paralympics in 2012. We had John Volanthen, who rescued the cave divers or led the cave dive rescues in Thailand. Mark Pollock, who has skied to the South Pole. He's done adventure races, all sorts of things, and he's blind and paralysed.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, I mean, these are
Hell of a lot.
incredible people who have achieved amazing things. And right at the end of the conference, I said every single world class performer that I've ever come across can accurately be described, genuinely be described as an ordinary person who became world class. And they all started in a very modest place, very humble beginnings. And it's like, I don't know whether you watch some of the sort of epic fantasy stories, the Lord of the Rings, the
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, those sorts of
Yeah.
things. Every single one of the heroes started in a very modest place.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't born with that the magical powers. Even Harry Potter, he might have been born with some magical powers, but he wasn't the finished article on day one. Luke Skywalker and Rey might have been born with Jedi powers, but they hadn't honed them and mastered them.
Mm-hmm.
So ordinary people is your start point, and the reflection there is that we can all become great. And when I even look at sort of the classic ideas of talent, um, talent really dictates what we could become great in. You know, if you're 2'6", you're unlikely to be a world class basketball player,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're 12 foot, you're not going to be a world class jockey.
No.
But you could be world class at something.
Mm-hmm.
So talent only really kind of directs what we could become world class in potentially. But from that point onwards, it's about what we do. You know, it's driven by us, our choices, what goes on between our ears, how we make the most of our potential. So one of my great reflections on life is that ordinary people become world class, and that means we could too.
Amazing. Simon, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to hearing all about the next conference because you have some amazing people there this year. It's goodness knows what you're gonna turn out with next year. That's fantastic.
Yeah, fingers crossed. The challenge is always to up the bar, and every time we finish one, I think, oh my gosh, how on earth are we going to raise the bar on that?
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.